Hey guys, Ziv here. Welcome back to another yarn. I just wanted to have a bit of a chat today about dealing with setbacks, specifically mentally. I've been through a bit of a major setback in my life, and I'm going to give 3 strategies that I'm using to deal with this setback. I'm not saying that I'm a monk with godly mental fortitude. I'm just showing you how I am trying to deal with it. And hopefully that can give some of you a bit of an insight and maybe some help if you're trying to deal with some sort of a setback as well. So, bit of a story. I run a business. I've been turning over $1 million a year for the last couple of years. So, a small, medium-sized business, depending on what you consider. I've only been really operating it for 3 or 4 years now. And recently I had to put some money from our mortgage into the business. It was the first time, well, I put some money into the business originally, starting it up, but then I managed to pay myself back. So before now, technically I have no money in the business. And it was a bit of a hit to my wife and I to know that the business needed money. It wasn't doing so well. So a big setback, right? You don't want to get some money out of your mortgage to pay for the business. It's not an ideal situation. There's many ways to justify it in your mind. You know, most businesses need investment. It's a sunk cost. All of those sorts of things. You know, I have no business degree. Imagine I did 3 years and got a HECS debt. All those sorts of things, but this is more just dealing with a mental setback. I have a very supportive wife, which helps as well, and it's been pretty good, and I think I haven't suffered too much mentally from it. I have fairly strong mental fortitude. Now, this strong mental fortitude grew over time. I used to work on stations, in oil rigs, and I always wanted to toughen myself up. I specifically did this before I became 21, when my goal was to travel the world, right? And I didn't want to be out there traveling the world and be a bad representation of true Aussie values, right? So I wanted to work some of the toughest Aussie jobs, really tough it out in the outback, and that would give me some strength and resilience. So, I mean, I worked 12-hour days in 40-degree weather, back-breaking work, you know, my body failing under me, and I just stuck with it, gritted my teeth, because my end goal was that I would have more fortitude, right? More resilience, more toughness. So if you reframe the tough thing that's happening to you as you're growing from it, you're learning from it, you're toughening yourself up, you know, when you do weights, you're really actually tearing your muscle tissue. Then you feed yourself protein and your muscle grows, right? So you're actually doing damage. Well, you don't want to damage your muscle, but you're sort of straining and working it in a way that over time it grows, right? And so the same with your mind. If you reframe it, that every tough thing that you go through is actually strengthening you, creating more resolve, creating more resilience, then is it a setback or a tough time at all? You know, having put myself after school, I grew up in a very sheltered, you know, area, and, you know, no crime, very sheltered community, all of that. Putting myself in a situation where, first of all, you're mentally isolated. You're just you, yourself, and the hard work. You sort of build a way of talking to yourself that you're comfortable in your own skin, and you can talk yourself out of things. You know, you can talk yourself into and out of situations, right? You can talk yourself into a better mental frame rate, and that sort of experience and having done it a few times definitely helps in the future when bad things happen, right? Especially for me, I find I can talk myself into a positive mindset pretty easy. It's harder for my wife, and I'm often the one talking her into a better mindset, because things at least I think, affect her a little bit more, smaller things. Whether that's the case or not, that's just how things work I perceive things work in our relationship. She may think things are different. I'm not speaking for her in any way. But yeah, you can build this mental resilience and a way of talking to yourself that is really important. So the first item of the 3 items that I have to work your way through massive setbacks is that it's not a setback at all. It's a learning experience. It's a growing experience. If you didn't have these experiences at the end of your life, what would you really have to talk about, right? It's like and my whole family jokes about this, is if I go on a holiday or something, I don't want the holiday to go off without a hitch. I want something to go wrong, because in that is all the adventure, right? That's where the adventure begins, when something goes wrong. If everything follows a plan and an itinerary, that's not an adventure to me. That is you following instructions. Like watching a movie, like you're just following the story. You're not part of the adventure or the story or making any decisions at any time. And it's the same through life. If you pay to get somewhere, pay for uni to learn your skills, whereas if you go the hard way and learn it all yourself by working your way up the chain, there's much more of an adventure in that story. So a setback is not really a setback. It is part of the story, part of the tough times that create the overall picture and make the story, make the character, make the resilience of who you are, right? Now, the next thing is that you've always just got to remember, life is still good, right? No matter how bad things are right now, put yourself in somebody else's shoes and just talk yourself through the situation. What if you were 90, right? And you were waking up this morning and going, oh, my back is not sore. I can get out of bed myself. I can cook myself my own meal. I'm living in my own house. I'm not living in a home. My kids are still alive. Imagine your kids aren't alive. There are so many things that you have so good today. Yes, it's maybe worse than yesterday, but it's a darn sight better than if you got cancer in a year and you were dying, right? So that emboldens your mental state as well, where you have to keep reminding yourself of how good you have it. I think people dwell on negativity way too much and don't remember the positive, or don't think about how good we have it today. Like, yes, I'm in a bad place, but I'm still, get to spend time with my family today, cooking pizza in the pizza oven, food, family, all these things. Live in that moment, let it calm you. And yes, you have the worry, financial worry and everything, but you shouldn't dwell on that. You should try spend more time in your mental space on what is positive than what is negative, because it's just not going to matter. If you were really sick, like you had a terminal illness and you were in hospital every day, that is so much worse than a financial setback. I had another setback. I was building my house, and there's a video of me in the middle of building, on crutches, and I broke my leg. That is a massive setback when you've taken a year off work to build your own house, and then in the middle of it you go break your leg, right? And you just grit it out. As soon as I was on crutches, I was back on the job site and I was moving concrete, right? And it didn't matter how bad my leg was. There was a job to get done. It had to get done. I'm not going to cry about it. And you just move on from the setback. Imagine you are in poverty, somebody in India or, South Africa, living in a slum, and just put yourself in their shoes for a day. Maybe even go fly there and visit them and live with them. You're struggling on a daily basis to get just food, right? And some of you who are watching may be in that situation. Leave a comment. There's always somebody who's got it way worse than you. And yes, for me, the amount of money I put into it's a lot of money, but it hasn't ruined me And therefore, you know, there are people who are ruined out there, absolutely ruined, living on the streets. They've lost their family, they've lost themselves to drugs and alcohol, all of that. There's always somebody worse off than you, and you should just think about what you're grateful for every day to embolden you. And I think in the Western world, we can just go buy food, and you know, we are thankful, like way less. I know religious people, you know, they pray and they have thankful routines where they remind themselves to be thankful, and I think that's important even if you're not religious. You know, your kids can end up being little brats, you know, and they never say thanks and that's just basic manners, right? Not even actually being thankful for the thing that they're receiving. And it's because we have just so much wealth and prosperity, right? We are so prosperous, and we shouldn't forget that. So even a setback, it's really nothing. Now, the third thing after the second thing, which I didn't know if I meant, the second thing was, life is still good, right? So now the third thing is, what are your priorities, right? If your priority is just money, then a financial setback would be terrible. If your priority was only your own personal health, then yes, breaking your leg would be a setback. It takes years of rehab, but there are sports people like skateboarders and stuff who break every bone in their body, right, and still get up and compete in pro level skating. That is some mental resolve and some good bounce back. You can bounce back from anything. So what are your priorities? If your priority is, and think of these priorities as, did you achieve them on your deathbed? And then, is this setback related to your priorities at all? Or does it even matter? So if your priority is your family, your kids, you know, does this setback affect the health and the way I interact with my kids? Well, it might if I go into a terrible mental place and take up alcoholism and just give up on the world. Yes, it will affect my kids. But when I'm lying on my deathbed, the fact that I put some money into my struggling business, well, it's not even struggling. My business is doing really well, right? It just, a big mistake was made, which I'll wear half the blame, but I think my accountant, my business mentor, everybody said, you know, I did the right things to avoid that mistake being happened, and I don't know everything, right? So I surround myself with the right people and hopefully find everything that I don't know, and they make mistakes too. So anyway, if I was dead tomorrow, would this in any way affect what my goals were, you know, how I lived my life? No, people won't remember me for that. So should it affect me moving forward? No, it shouldn't. It's something I have to sort out, get over, build upon, learn from. If I like with the YouTube channel, everybody says, you know, put out 100 videos, learn from every video and get better from every video. And that way, if a video only gets 20 views, which a lot of mine do, you're still learning from it, you're still improving. That video isn't a failure, right? So if you have a setback, that setback isn't a failure if you've learned from it, if you've grown from it, if you've developed from it, and you've told your story. And as long as you don't affect your priorities, which is, for me, you know, family, children, living healthily, living with minimal impact upon the planet, all those sorts of things. Does this setback affect any of that? If I was to die tomorrow? No, it doesn't. So the setback is just a mental thing. It's a pain I'm putting myself through that I need not put myself through. I think it was Mark Twain or somebody who said 90% of the pain you are experiencing is not even actual pain. It's not like an arrow hit you. It's a perceived pain that you put on yourself mentally. Don't quote me on that at all. I think I heard it somewhere. I did not quote it correctly, but it makes sense to me. Where, yeah, really a lot of the struggles that you are facing are not real, are not part of your life. They're just things that your brain cannot deal with. And so if you put yourself through that pain again and again and again, it no longer becomes pain. It's like going to the gym. Like, it becomes growth. If you had something terrible happen to you every day of your life, it's no longer something terrible happening to you, it's just life. So these things, these struggles that we go through are really, they're just out of the ordinary, right? They're just a bad moment, but you've got to have those bad moments to have the good moments. You've got nothing to, there's no yin and yang. There's no opposite end. If everything in your life was good, then that would just be your normal, and you would be seeking gratification in some further other way, and that's when you fall to drugs and all those sorts of things. If you have really terrible times, then, and that's say 10% of your time, then the normal and then the good times, they don't even need to be that good anymore to really appreciate them. So I think forcing yourself to go through some difficult times, or embracing the difficult times, that they're going to be a learning curve, that they're a great thing actually for your life, is a different mindset, and it just helps you get through them. It's still tough, it's still terrible, whatever it is you're going through, whether it's you got cancer, you know, you've lost a lot of money somehow, you've crashed a car, you've burnt your house down. Who knows? There could be millions of things that you could be struggling with. And I hope some of these things that these things you've said can help you. They certainly help me as I'm going through them. And it's hard for blokes, I guess, to talk about it. So putting myself out there and having a bit of a yarn with you, I hope helps somebody. If it does, let me know in the comments, and we can share each other's stories. I hope putting myself out there a little bit helps somebody. If you want to see more of this sort of stuff, hook us a like. Yeah, I want to keep having yarns with you, so on and so forth. There comes my son. I've run out of time now. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.